Hello, how are you today? I hope you are doing well. I want to talk to you about the annual notices of change for Blue Cross Blue Shield. And I'm only going to talk about three of them in particular: the Prime Value, the Essential, and the Meijer plan. All of these are going to have a lot of different changes on them. So I want to make sure that you are aware of the changes because you may or may not want to change your plan. Um, so yeah, let's go ahead and let's get started. Give me 1 second. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. Hope you guys are having an amazing day. If you have any questions, you can throw them in the chat and I'll answer any questions that I can. So I am going to get to the meat of it so that we can go over the different changes. We're starting with the Prime Value plan. Okay, so here's going to be one of the biggest changes for you. You are used to having a $0 plan. Next year, your Prime Value plan is going to be $35. Now, if you live in all of these different regions, which you can see here on the left side, there's also a premium reduction. So for instance, if you live in Wayne County, you're going to take $11.50 off of that, or that $11.50 is going to be put back into your Social Security check. So instead of $35, you'll be paying $23.50, I want to say, something like that. Additionally, those of you that have the supplemental benefits for the dental, vision, and hearing, that will no longer be available to you. So, when you get that extra $1,500 for implants and all that stuff, or the extra $250 for glasses, that's no longer going to be available on this particular plan. The out-of-pocket maximum for that it was $4,200. For 2026, it's going up to $5,000. So you're going to have a bit more of an out-of-pocket maximum than you had before. Okay. Some other changes. You want to make sure that you're going to have to make sure when we talk, if you want to have a conversation with me, you're going to want to make sure that you have, you check your pharmacy to make sure that your pharmacy is in the network and that the pharmacy is still preferred. Now, in 2025, you had one chiropractic visit per year, and then you also had a $20 copay for any x-rays. None of that is going to be covered in 2026. It will not be covering any type of chiropractic services. Dental services. These are only dental services that are Medicare covered. So, for instance, if you had an accident and something happened with your teeth that was affecting your health, that would be covered. And the copay for that was $275. Now it's $375. If you're out of town, out of state, the point of service copay for that is going to be $35, where it was $0 before. Also, the maximum that you are going to have for preventive dental services and comprehensive services, it was $1,500 this year. Next year is going to be $950. So as you can see, that's going to be quite a big change. If you're a diabetic, all of your supplies were $0, and they will still be $0 if you use the preferred diabetic supplier. If not, you're going to have to pay a 20% coinsurance for your diabetic supplies. So you're going to want to make sure that you are utilizing diabetic supply, the preferred diabetic supply people. Okay, we talked about dental, we talked about diabetic. And again, for Medicare covered shoes and inserts, it's a 40% coinsurance if it's non-preferred, if it's a non-preferred person. Your emergency care went from $125 to $130. Silver sneakers will not be in this plan any longer. So you will no longer have the silver sneakers. You will no longer have hearing coverage in this plan either. You will no longer have the meal benefit. Like if you were in the hospital and you got out of the hospital, they were giving you free meals. They will no longer be giving you the free meals with this plan either. So you may have to do Medicare Part B drugs are not the ones that you're going to get from a pharmacy. Okay. Those could be like cancer drugs or those really expensive RA drugs. Those could fall under the Part B. And you may have to do what's called step therapy. Step therapy is when you try a medication that's going to be less expensive to see if that will work for you. And then if it won't work for you, you take the next step to be approved for the medication that you're looking at. So that is also going to be available, something that you're going to have to think about for 2026 if you're in the prime value plan. You will have some coverage for non-Medicare covered mental health, mobile mental health. So as long as you're in the BCN Advantage service area, you will have that. Now, what I didn't mention is if you're in Upper Michigan, or, this is, us Michiganders, this is Michigan. If you are here or above, the prime value plan is no longer going to be available for you. So you are going to want to get with me so that we can talk about some other options. Either way, really, just to see what else may fit your needs for 2026. If you are outpatient hospital observation, it was $0 last year, but next year you're going to have a $130 copayment for Medicare covered inpatient hospital outpatient services. So that's something else to consider. Outpatient hospital services, it was $275 last year. Now, this year, if it's non-surgical, it's going to be $150. But if it's a surgical service, it's going to be a copayment of $375. So that's something to keep in mind too. Your outpatient rehabilitation services are also going to have a $35 copay, going up $5 from last year. Okay. No over the counter. So your OTC card, you don't have that any longer with this prime value plan. Skilled nursing facility. Days, of course, days 1 to 20 is always $0, but days 21 to 100 is going to be $218 per day, and that's up that's up $4 from last year. Okay. So there was something called SSBCI, and so if you had a chronic condition, you could use those OTC dollars for other things. That is no longer going to be available for you next year. So there will be no SSBCI in this plan next year. There will also be no transportation in this plan next year. There will also be no enhanced vision in this plan next year. And if you're out of the country, your worldwide emergency coverage care, the copay went from $125 to $130, which that's not too bad. So as you can see, medically, there are going to be a lot of changes with this prime value plan. Let's talk a little bit about the drugs. Okay. The drug plan, you didn't have a deductible on this plan before. Next year, you're going to have a $150 deductible. So the first $150 of your care is going to be your responsibility. Also, for your tier 1 drugs, you're still going to have that $5 copay if you go to a standard pharmacy. But if you go to a preferred pharmacy, it's still going to be $0. I forgot I was supposed to put this on. Hopefully you can hear me okay. It's going to be $0 if you go to a preferred pharmacist. Tier 2, It was $20 for a standard pharmacy. Now it's going down to 10 for this year, so that's a little bit better. Preferred last year was 11. Now it's going down to 5. But this is where the big change. This is where the big changes are coming in, and I want to make sure that you are aware of these, and I want to explain. What they mean. So if you have a brand name drug, you are used to having just a flat copay. $47 is what it was for a standard pharmacy, $42 for a regular pharmacy. Now, instead of paying a flat fee, you are going to pay a percentage. You are going to pay 20% of the price of the drug. So, for instance, you have a $500 drug that you get every month. That particular drug is going to be, instead of being the $42 at a preferred pharmacy, that particular drug is going to cost you $100 because it's going to be 20% of the 500. Okay. So that's going to be a huge change that you're going to want to make sure that you are aware of and that you budget for. And this is kind of like an industry trend, if you will, for these tier 3, 4, and 5 drugs, where they're moving from a co-payment to a co-insurance. If you need insulin, it's still going to be the $35, which that's good. For a non-preferred drug, you're going from 50% to, you're going from 50% to 30%. So you're going to be paying a little bit less for a non-preferred drug. Okay. And tier 5 is going to be about the same. It was 33%. Those are going to be your specialty tier drugs. It was 33%. Now it's going to go down to 31%. So that's going to be similar in price. It's a little bit better. So with these drug prices and these drug changes, there is the Medicare prescription payment plan. And so what that is instead of paying the pharmacy, you're going to pay your insurer, Blue Cross Blue Shield. You can enter into this plan, and what they'll do is they'll take whatever you pay at the pharmacy and they will divide it by 12. For instance, let's just say that I'm trying to do a round number. Your bill at the pharmacy, let's just say, was $50. Okay. And so instead of paying the $50 at the pharmacy, they will take that $50 and they will divide it by 12 if you start in January. So instead of paying the $50, you're going to pay, what's 50 divided by 12? It's not an even number. Oh, that wasn't a good example. So let's say you had to pay $48 because that's easier. You get a bill for $4 a month. Okay, so that first month you'd owe $4. The next month, if it's still $48, you're going to still owe the $4 from January, from the first month. That goes down to the second month, and then it's another $4. So instead of getting a bill for $4, you'll get a bill for $8. I hope that makes sense. If not, let me know and I'll try to explain it more. But one thing that you need to know about the Medicare prescription payment plan is that it does have a maximum out-of-pocket of $2,100. So when the true out-of-pocket cost, the part that you pay and the part that the insurance company pays, when it reaches that $2,100, then you've reached your maximum out-of-pocket and you no longer have to pay for your prescriptions for the year. So if you have those expensive prescriptions, that is something that may be helpful. So instead of having to pay a big amount of money in the beginning of the year, you can break it down a little bit. That will be helpful for you. And so this is just more information on how to get help with your prescription drugs. So what I want to do at this point is I want to move over. That was your prime value. And so now I want to move over and I want to talk about the difference between the prime value. And now I want to talk about the essential plan, because you're going to see some similar changes from that essential plan that you saw with the prime value plan. So let's get into that a little bit. Okay. So that was your prime value. This is going to be your essential. So depending on where you live, there's $25 payment. It used to be $0. So now you're going to have that $25 premium that you're going to have to pay each month. But again, you're going to have that premium reduction. So depending on what region you live in, you will have a premium reduction of this amount. So you're not going to pay that total $25. Okay. This one will have the optional supplemental benefits. It's going to go from $21 to $21.80 to $30.50. So you'll still be able to purchase that if you choose to with the essential plan. Your out-of-pocket maximum is going to be $6,250. And that's going to be for your combined out-of-pocket, whether you're in network or out of network. Once you've paid that $6,250 for your Part A and Part B services, then you don't have to pay anything else for providers for the rest of the year for your essential plan. Okay. If you are using an ambulance and you are not transported, you're going to have to pay that $90 copay. If the ambulance is out of network and you're not transported, you're going to have to pay 50% of whatever that is. Chiropractic services, again, is not going to be covered in the essential plan next year. It was covered this year, but minimally, but it won't be covered next year. They are going, instead of giving you that $1,500 towards dental, that is going to be reduced to $950. Okay, which is similar to the prime value plan we talked about. Also, for the diabetes, as long as you are using a preferred provider, it's still going to be a 0% coinsurance. But if you use a non-preferred provider for your diabetic supplies, it is going to be a 20% copay. For your shoes and inserts, it goes up to a 40% copay if you do not use the preferred provider that they utilize. Emergency care is going up to $130 from $125. There will be no silver sneakers in this plan next year. There will be no hearing in this plan next year. If it's not Medicare covered, it won't be in this plan. Medicare does not cover routine hearing exams, hearing aid fittings, or hearing aids. So that's not included in the plan any longer. Your inpatient hospital stay. Now, this is good. It went from $420 for the first 7 days down to $350 if you're in the hospital. So that did go down a bit, and so that's a good thing. There will be no meal benefit. So if you get out of the hospital, there will be no meal benefit for this year. And then also for your Part B, like we talked about with the prime value, you will have that step therapy for that to get that approved. So let's just read what this says. Coverage for Part B drugs may be subject to step therapy requirements that specify a trial of Part D drugs prior to eligibility for a Part B drug. So they're going to want to get you a Part D drug instead of going straight to the Part B drug, if that's available. You will also have the mobile mental health services that's going to be available all over the state of Michigan. Now, mind you, again, with the essential, here down, the essential is going to be okay. Here up, there will be no essential plan. So you are definitely going to, if you live here or up, you are definitely going to have to get into a new plan, and please don't hesitate to contact me. Oops. Well, I don't want that. I want that to go away. I wonder if can you guys see that? Give me 1 second. I've got this thing up here that I need to go away. I don't know why it's there. Okay, there we go. Sorry about that. Um, okay. Outpatient hospital observation, again, that's going to be $130. It was no copayment this year, but next year there will have a copay to it. Outpatient hospital services is going to go down, which that's good. It'll go from 150 to 125. And then your rehabilitation services are going to go up. So it was 40. Next year it's going to be 45. There is no over the counter with the essential plan for next year. So there'll be no over the counter. Okay, if you are in the doctor's office and you have a service or procedure done, the copayment for a full body skin exam performed by a dermatologist, you can get that once in a lifetime, that's going to be $45. Surgical procedures performed in a specialist hours, copay of $45. Outpatient hospital non-surgical services, $125. If you are out of network, it's going to be a 50% copay. Okay. The skilled nursing facility is going up to $218. And also, there is no SSBCI. If you had that chronic condition, you could use the OTC money for other things. That's not going to be available for you next year. Your transportation, no transportation. That's not going to be available either. Vision, not going to be available either in this particular plan. So there are a lot of things that you've gotten accustomed to that are not going to be available next year in the essential plan. So this plan is going to have a deductible. Your deductible on this plan is going to be $150, but that deductible is only for tiers 3, 4, and 5. So if you have a tier 1, which is a preferred generic, or a tier 2, which is a generic drug, then the deductible will not apply to you. But if it's a tier 3, 4, 5, then you're going to have that $150 deductible on your plan. Standard tier 1 is $5. If you go to a preferred, always go to a preferred pharmacy if you can. CVS is not preferred, but a lot of different other places are. And that's something we can always check for you. But always try to go to a preferred pharmacy. Save yourself a little bit of money. But it will be a $0 copay if you go to a preferred pharmacy. Tier 2, it went down again. It was $20 last year, $10 copay this year, $11 last year, went down to a $5 copay if you use the preferred pharmacy. Again, as we talked about with the prime value, that tier 3 is going to go from a flat payment to a percentage. It was $42 if you use the preferred pharmacy. Next year is going to be 20% of that brand name drug. So for instance, again, if you had a $500 drug, you are accustomed to paying $42. But if you are this year, you would pay $100 because instead of paying that $42, you're going to pay 20% of the price of the drug. And also insulin, again, is just going to be that $35. If you had a non-preferred drug, that's a tier 4 drug, that is going to be 25%. It was 50%, so it is going down a little bit to 25%. And that 25% is going to be true whether it's standard or a preferred pharmacy that you choose to go to. And again, the specialty drug is going from 33% to 31%. So a little bit of a help with that. As you can see, there are many, many changes that will be happening next year. So you definitely want to get in contact with me so we can talk about other plan options, because Blue Cross Blue Shield does have other plan options available for 2026 that may fit your needs better than your current plan based on the changes that are being made. And again, that prescription payment plan is available for you next year. Ooh, I have done a lot of talking, but I have just a little more talking to do. with the Meijer plan. And then, if you have any questions, again, you can put them down in the chat, and I'll be more than happy to answer any questions that you have. But let's do the Meijer. And you're going to see, and again, you're going to see some similar types of, you're going to see some similar types of changes as we get ready to look at that. So let me get to the right slide, and then we will go over the changes for the Meijers. So I think the theme of what you're seeing is that a lot of these extras that you've gotten accustomed to, well, the premium is different because you didn't have a premium before. And then a lot of the extras that you had before also are not going to be available. So the premium for this plan is going from $0 to $35. But then again, you do have that premium reduction. So depending on which county, you can look over here on the left-hand side, and you can see which county you live, which region you live in, excuse me. And that region is going to tell you, how much your reduction is going to be. So if you're in Region 6, which is Macomb, Oakland, Washtenaw, Wayne County, you're going to have a $15.90 reduction in the price of the plan. Okay. The optional benefits are going to be available on this plan. They're run from $21.80 up to $30.50. You will also have the same out-of-pocket maximum, $6,750. So once you have paid for your covered, they make sure they put covered Part A and Part B services, you won't pay anything beyond that, because that's going to be your maximum out-of-pocket. And that's going to be your combined maximum out-of-pocket for in and out of network. Okay. Your ambulance services, if you are out of network, are going to be a percentage. Instead of paying $90, you're going to pay 50% if you are not transported. Cardiac rehabilitation services had no copay last year. Next year is going to be $15. So, it's going to be $15. Again, the chiropractic services are not covered in the Meijers plan next year. Instead of $1,500 in dental, you will have $1,000 in dental to cover preventative and comprehensive care services. Again, for the diabetic supplies, you want to use a preferred provider. If you do, there will be no copay, which you are accustomed to. If you don't, it's going to be a 20% copay for if you use a non-preferred diabetic supply company. For the diabetic shoes, it's going to be 40%. If you're out of network, it's going to be a 40% copay. And if you use a non-preferred diabetic supply company. So please use the preferred providers so that you don't have these copays. Emergency care is going to $130. So for this plan, you do have a hearing exam. So you still have that hearing exam, but it has to be a true hearing provider. If you go to a true hearing provider, your copayment for that is going to be $0. You cannot go out of network, because if you do, it is not covered. So you want to make sure you go do that. You will have a hearing aid fitting. Again, true hearing provider. You have to go to them. It's a $0 copay for your hearing aid fitting and evaluation. And again, guess who you got to go to? A true hearing network provider. If you don't, you do not have coverage. And so we want to make sure that you have coverage for that. Your hearing aid services must be received from a true hearing provider. So who do we have to go to? A true hearing provider. Yes. Okay. If you are getting hearing aids, there's a copay. They're going to give you, there's different tiering of hearing aids basically. Instead of giving you a flat amount, it's $495 copay for the basic hearing aids, $895 for standard, $1295 for advanced, and $1695 for premium. And that's per ear per year. So uh, you have to go to somebody that's in the network or it is not going to be covered. Okay, if you are in the hospital, last year it was $425 a day. Next year it's going to be, no, I'm sorry, this year it was $425 per day. Next year it's going to be $325 per day for the first 7 days that you're in the hospital. Inpatient psychiatric care is going to go up to $325 copayment per day for the first 7 days. There is no meal benefit covered in this plan. Your Part B drugs, they're gonna do step therapy again, where they want you to try out different Part D drugs that do the same things before you are eligible for the Part B drug. So that is something to consider. Non-medical covered mental health services is available statewide this year. So that's a good thing. If you are out of network, there is a $55 copayment for COVID-19 testing out of network. So go to somebody that's in network and you don't have to worry about that. If you're outpatient hospital services, last year it was $0. This year it's $130 for observation. Okay. Outpatient hospital services in network, last year it was $375 copay for non-surgical services. This year is going down to $150 for non-surgical services. Also, outpatient mental health out of network now is a $55 copay instead of a 50% copay. So that's a bit better. And your outpatient rehabilitation services in network went up from $40 to $50. So in 2026, it will be $50. Your over the counter. Last year with your Meijers OTC, you received $160 per quarter. That is going down to $60 per quarter. Partial hospitalization services and intensive outpatient services for in and out of network is $55 copayment. It was $50. Pulmonary rehabilitation services is $10 in 2026. And then the skilled nursing is for days 21 to 100 is $218. Your SSBCI, you do have that on this plan. So if you have certain chronic conditions, you can utilize your OTC money, that's $60 for different things beyond just the over-the-counter stuff. It could be healthy foods and things like that. But that is going to be that's going to be $60 for 2026. Supervised exercise therapy is going to be a $15 copay, where in 2026, where it was $0 last year. Now, transportation services are not going to be covered under the Meijer's plan. Urgent care is going to be a $50 copay, which is nice. And LASIK or RK, which I'm not sure what that is, but it's not covered anyway. Your eye benefit is going to go down, if you're in network, it's going to go down from $150 to $100 for eyewear. And if you are out of the country and you need some assistance, it's going to be $130 copayment for the emergency room and $50 for the urgent care. Again, you're going to want to make sure you are checking your pharmacies to make sure that they are in the pharmacy that you want is a preferred pharmacy, because you will have less of a premium or less of a copay if you go to a preferred pharmacy in most instances. This particular plan has a $150 deductible for your prescription drugs for tiers 3, 4, and 5. Tier 1 and 2, there is no deductible that you would have. Tiers 3, 4, and 5, you're going to be responsible for the first $150 for your prescriptions in 2026. There really wasn't a lot of change for the preferred generic drugs. If you go to standard pharmacy, it's $5. If you go to preferred pharmacy, there's no copay. Excuse me. For tier 2, you had a little bit of movement. Your standard pharmacy was a $20 copay. Now it's gone down to a $12 copay. The preferred pharmacy was $11. Now it's gone down to $7. So you're going to be paying a little bit less on your tier 2 drugs. Your tier 3 is where you're going to see the most change. Your tier 3 is going to be your preferred drugs. And with your preferred drugs, you had a flat copay. And now your flat copay is going to be changed to a percentage. So for instance, if you went to a preferred pharmacy, you're accustomed to paying $42 for that drug. Now, instead of paying that $42, you're going to be paying 20%. Again, I'm going to give you the same example I gave you before. The drug is $500. Instead of paying your copay of $42, you're going to pay in 2025. In 2026, your copay is going to be $100, because $100 is 20% of $500. Okay. Your non-preferred drugs, those are going to go down from a 50% copayment to a 30% copayment. So that's going to be a bit better for you. And again, if you have insulin, it's going to be a $35 copay regardless. Okay. Tier 3, again, is going from 33% to 31%. So that's just a minor change. So as you can see, there are going to be a lot of changes with the plan, with these plans in 2026. Keep in mind, you do have that Medicare prescription payment plan. You can call Blue Cross Blue Shield to get into that plan, and it helps smooth out the payments, if you will. They'll take that payment. You won't get a bill. You won't pay the pharmacy, but you will pay Blue Cross Blue Shield. Once you get a bill for it, they'll divide it by however many months are left in the year. So if you start in January, they'll take that $48 divided by 12. You'll pay $4 a month for those January prescriptions. That same $48 in February, they'll divide it by 11. So because there's only 11 months left. So instead of paying $4, you'll pay 48 divided by 11. So it'll be 4 plus whatever that number is. Let's just say it's $4.40. I don't know what it is. So it'll be that $4 for January, the $4.40 for February, which you'd get a bill for $8.40, and so forth. Another good thing to remember is that you do have a maximum out-of-pocket cost for your prescriptions of $2,100. And that is the true out-of-pocket cost. So once what you've paid and what the insurance company has paid reaches $2,100, you will no longer have any out-of-pocket costs. Okay. All right. I have talked for 40 minutes straight. What I want you to know is that there are major changes happening to your Blue Cross Blue Shield Prime Value, Essential, and Meijers plan. Because of these changes, you are going to want to get with me so that Blue Cross has introduced a few new plans that will that may work better for you than the plan that you are currently in. And so contact me so that we can discuss some different changes for you that might work. I look forward to talking to you. You can call me at 313-472-5347. Again, I'm Janine. Or you can, let me see if I can get here. Or you can email me at janine@lifestylesafety.com. I'm trying to get to somewhere so I can put up my information for you. Um, because this is going to be a lot of changes. This is going to be a lot of changes. And I want to make sure that you have the best plan that you can have for yourself for 2026. I also want to make sure that you realize that you do have this premium that you're going to have to pay. Because if you don't pay the premium, you may eventually get dropped from the plan. And then if we are outside of annual enrollment period and we're outside of open enrollment period, you may not be able to get into another plan. So I want us to be proactive to make sure that we have the plan that you need for you for next year. I look forward to talking to you. I look forward to helping you. I look forward to us getting you the best plan that you can possibly have for 2026. Hope you are doing well, and I will talk to you soon. Take care. Bye.